We've seen the watches worn by the bad and the morally grey film characters. Now it's time to round off our series on watches worn in Hollywood movies by looking at the heroes. Welcome back to the WatchGecko channel, all of you watch heroes and nerds, and today, well, we are going to be taking a look at 10 movie watches worn by heroes, completing our limited series on movie watches. Now for this list, we've specifically chosen watches that are unique and well known, but not necessarily spoken about all the time on YouTube. So unfortunately, this list won't include watches worn by James Bond or similar action heroes like John Wick and Ethan Hunt. We will have a separate video on those boys anyway, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that. In a similar vein, we are not going to be looking at Interstellar because as much as I love those watches, they are all over YouTube review spaces, and the Seiko Arnie just gets an honourable mention here. So let's start off this list with an absolute classic from Sylvester Stallone's Rocky Balboa. In Rocky 2, Balboa, while adjusting to the newfound celebrity, buys 3 watches, 2 for himself and 1 for his wife, all in solid gold. Firstly, he buys his wife a full gold diamond set Lady Just, but for himself, you have a solid gold day-date Rolex and a GMT Master. The day-date has a classic champagne dial and is absolutely gorgeous as a watch. I'm a particular fan of the layout, the day-date, with the day at 12 and the date window at 3. The GMT Master is on a Jubilee bracelet, has a dark black dial and bezel insert, maybe a little too much bling for a sports watch alone for me, but hey, it's still pretty good. Steve McQueen is arguably the king of cool, and so unsurprisingly, this watch is synonymous with him. This is the Tag Heuer Monaco 1133, as worn by McQueen in the 1971 racing film Le Mans. This is an absolute classic watch with the dark blue dial colour, white markers and red tones. It creates the basis for what we all consider to be the classic 70s racing chrono. Fun fact with this one, Steve McQueen did actually do all of his own stunts, including driving a Porsche 917 over 200 miles per hour during filming. He also apparently was going to wear the Omega Speedmaster, but opted for the Monaco instead because the design matched his actual character's suit. Speaking of the Omega Speedmaster, this iconic and historically important watch has been worn by actors in plenty of films, including George Clooney in The American and Ryan Reynolds in The Adam Project. But here is arguably the most appropriate character to wear the watch. Well, because he is a real-life person. In Apollo 13, Tom Hanks plays astronaut Jim Lovell. Both the character and the real person wore Omega Speedmasters during the mission because, as we all know, it's importantly the watch that was certified by NASA for space missions. Look, I love the Omega Speedmaster. Literally all versions are so cool. And as with many people, I love it because of the real life story behind the space and lunar missions, which just does it for me. Now let's go to an Oscar-winning film with Argo, which Ben Affleck famously starred and directed in. In the film, which is set by the way in 1979, Tony Mendez, the character Affleck plays, wears a Rolex Deep Sea Sea Dweller. Now, I remember this causing some raised eyebrows when this came out, as the Deep Sea was released in 2008, which would have made it about 29 to 30 years too early. Regardless, it's a pretty cool model and a bit of a jump in terms of big boy sizing. I think maybe this would have been best suited for having the character wear a Rolex Submariner 5513 or even a Tudor Submariner 7016, like your boy does. Next up, we have a vintage Omega, but before we look at it, I want to remind you that if you are looking for your next watch purchase, strap or accessory, why not head on over to the WatchGecko website. You can use the QR code on screen or the link in the description, and shopping with us is the best way to support our work because YouTube pays us peanuts, which is far from covering the costs of these videos. Thanks for your support. Now let's get back to the movie watches. So from historically inaccurate to historically accurate with another critically acclaimed film, Dunkirk, from visionary director Christopher Nolan. Telling the story of the evacuation of 300,000 soldiers is a daunting task, and one could forgive Nolan for the odd historical inconsistency, but it seems like he had an eye for the tiniest of details. The RAF pilot Farrier, played by Tom Hardy, wears the vintage Omega CK2129. Now, in real life, it was about 110,000 of these watches were delivered by Omega to Allies during the war, and so it's not only period correct, but also pretty on the money for what the pilots would have actually worn. It's pretty useful too. It included things like a locking feature on the second crown to stop the bezel from moving during accidental knocks, whilst the bezel itself is also very useful for timing things like bombing raids. It's obviously a really important watch for pilots, and as such I'm really happy it's got some film recognition so I can include it on the list. Okay, so I said before no Bond on today's list. However, that doesn't mean I can't sneak a Bond actor in here. So here is Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, a detective in the Netflix film series Knives Out. We're looking specifically at the second entry in the series, Glass Onion. During the filming, Blanc wears a classic dressy looking Omega. It's actually a reissue of a more classic pre-Bond Omega Seamaster. This one is called the 1948 Seamaster. Now, it's called the 1948 not because of it being the year in which it is looking to emulate, but it's actually because there are only, and yes, you've guessed it, 1,948 pieces made. It's a very nice looking vintage inspired watch with classic proportions too. It's time for a piece of classic American design here with the Hamilton Ventura, a watch made famous by Elvis in the 50s, but arguably for me, it is its appearance in the smash hit 1997 film Men in Black that really did it. Agent J, played by Will Smith, famously wears this watch along with his black suited attire. Men in Black is one of my favourite films from my childhood. To this day, I still can't get over how good the effects were on Edgar and his slowly deteriorating skin suit, played by the amazing Private Pile himself, Vincent D'Onofrio. Such a great watch and such a classic film. The Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso is a classic watch and can be used to such a great effect in film when subtly hinting of a character's dual personality. And none other character would be more suited to wearing this watch than Batman himself, Bruce Wayne. Now, in the Dark Knight trilogy, Christian Bale's Batman wears a Reverso, and it became so attached to his version of the character that JLC actually released a special edition Grande Reverso Ultra Thin to tie in with the character wearing it. What is notable about the special edition is the caseback of the watch features a black Batman symbol that is used in the film series. But did you also know that Bale's Bruce Wayne wasn't the first to wear the JLC Reverso? In fact, Val Kilmer wore the watch as well during the cheesier Batman Forever of 1995. So it seems that this character and this watch has a history spanning back over 30 years and at least 4 different films. Now, from the DC universe, we are skipping over to the Marvel universe for another Jaeger-LeCoultre. I wonder what it is with superheroes and JLC. In the film Doctor Strange, the eponymous character played by Benedict Cumberbatch wears the JLC Ultra Thin Perpetual Calendar. Now, not only is this watch a super slim 9.2mm, but it also has a perpetual calendar and features a day of the week at 9 o'clock, a calendar at 3, month at 6 o'clock, and finally a moon phase at 12. This definitely is a watch fitting of a master of the mystical arts. Finally, the last watch on this list today is a film from classic Hollywood, North by Northwest. The psychological thriller from the master of suspense himself, Alfred Hitchcock, stars Cary Grant as Roger Thornhill. During the film, Thornhill wears a classic Cartier tank, a watch that actually belonged to the actor himself. Now, I've already told you guys in the previous videos that the Cartier tank is such a classic, iconic, and historically important watch. But if you want to know more about it, let us know in the comments below, and I'll consider doing an historic deep dive into the model. And that's, of course, if my ADHD allows me. So that's our list. What do you think of these choices? I quite like the options here, and I know that all of these films are mainstream and are well known, but they don't seem to have been talked about as much on YouTube, so I wanted to do something just a little bit different. Oh, and speaking of different, during this list I've usually added a bonus watch in from the TV universe of Breaking Bad. Now, arguably there are very few heroes in that show, so I thought I would go with another anti-hero, who who eventually makes the sacrifice to become a hero and a better person by the end of his show, Better Call Saul. I'm of course talking about Jimmy McGill, aka Saul Goodman, the morally bankrupt lawyer who in his own show goes through a kind of redemption arc. Now, he wears one watch in particular, and to be honest, it is 100% suiting of this character. It's flashy and in your face. It is the Pulsar P4 Executive, a digital watch in PVD yellow gold, no less. Now, in the show, you also see a Rolex Daytona during his swindling days. It's alluded to that the reference number 16523 is actually a fake watch, and he uses it on his marks. But there you have it, guys. Here is my list of 10 great watches plus one bonus watch worn by movie heroes. But what do you think of my list? Let us know in the comments below. Also, now that we have ended this series, is there any other videos you'd like us to do? Again, let us know in the comments section, and who knows, we may just oblige you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the WatchGecko channel for more updates, reviews and reaction videos all around the amazing world of wrist watches. You can also follow us on Instagram at WatchGecko for some aesthetically pleasing photos of watches. Take care, all of you beautiful people, and I will see you all in the next one.